Hi everyone. So in this video, we'll try to figure out what exactly these moats are and how one can figure out which companies have strong moats and they can be invested in these companies. So first we'll try to figure out what exactly moat is. So as you can see in the picture, so this castle is your company, right? So when there is a particular company, you will have competitors who would try to make the same kind of product and then try to take your market share away from you, right? So if you have this protection, right, the water you see surrounding the castle, that is nothing but the moat. So what exactly are these protections, right? Different types of protections or modes we have. So we'll go into them one by one and also see which companies are those which are having these modes. And also we'll see at how we can figure out on screener.in that okay, which are the companies having some kind of a mode, right? So let's get started. So what are the different kinds of modes that we have? So the first one is brands, right? So brands like let's say Apple is there. Then you have Jockey, right, which is in innerwear. So what happens is the customers are very loyal to these brands and they do not switch frequently. Let's say you are an Apple user, right? You have Apple iPhone. Usually, they don't switch to, let's say, they come to Samsung and then again the next phone they'll go back to Apple, right? So they don't do that. Once you are an Apple customer, usually you'll continue buying the same product, right? Same with innovative brands, same with, let's say, even food items. Let's say you are a Maggie fan. You are not going to go out there and start eating top ramen, right? So in case if you don't find any other noodles, maybe you'll not eat the noodles. But if you want to eat noodles, you are going to go with Maggie. And who makes Maggie? Nestle makes Maggie noodles, right? Or else if you're a coffee drinker. So many people, why Starbucks became so popular? So because of the quality of coffee that they make, and people don't once they become their customers, right? They don't usually switch, right? So this is about the brands. So if you look at some of these companies, I'll go to so Page Industries, like I was talking about, Page Industries, they manufacture jockey innerwears, right? So if you look at the growth of this particular company, right? So this has been continuously moving up. So almost in 10 years kind of a time frame, let's say from 2012 or 2013, from so almost a 20 or a 15 odd bagger this company has been, right? So what they do, they just manufacture jockey products, although they don't own the brand as such, but they are manufacturers for jockey in India. So because people are loyal towards that particular brand, what is happening is the growth of jockey is continuously expanding, and because of which even company like Page Industries, who just manufactures it for jockey in India, this particular company has benefited a lot. And even if you look at Nestle, so Nestle doesn't have just Maggi noodles; it is also in Cerelac. So Cerelac is a baby milk powder, right? So it is having a very strong moat there as well, right? And even Kit Kat. So KitKat is a Nestle product. So because of which, even if you look at what this particular company has done in the last 10 years, so let's say from for around 5,000 bucks, it is around 20,000 bucks. So it has given you still a 400% kind of a return, right? A four bagger this company has been in the last 10 years. Much better than your bank FDs. So going back to the slide, so brands is one such thing. The second one is long track record or strong distribution network, right? So when you want to, let's say you want to go and buy a particular car, right? What you'll do is usually people look at names who have been there since very long, right? It may be Maruti, it may be Tata. So Tatas are in multiple products, right? So whenever someone is buying a product, right, they will have that in their back of their mind that, okay, Tatas have been there since almost 50, 60, 100 odd years, right? And their quality is very good. So a long track record is also some kind of a moat which plays on the customer's mind. Even Godrej is there in multiple different business verticals, even Reliance, right? So these enjoy some kind of a moat. So customers are going to buy their products irrespective of what products they are going to come up with, right? Because of the long track record. And the next one is a strong distribution network, something like Asian Paints, right? Since it has a shop, let's say, in every corner of, let's say, even in small villages and everywhere, right? They enjoy some kind of a moat, right? Because of their strong distribution network. Because to replicate that, it is not such an easy thing. So if some company has a strong distribution network, naturally it is having some kind of a moat, and the competitors are going to find it very difficult to compete with such a company, right? So if you look at something like even Asian Paints, also what it has done in the last many years. So even Asian Paints last, if you take 10 years or from 400 levels, or let's say from 300 odd to 3000, almost a 10 bagger in the last 10 years, Asian Paints has been, right? So next one, monopoly or large market share. So if someone has monopoly, right, what they can do is they can dictate the price of that particular product. Let's say you are the only manufacturer of that product, then you can sell it at whatever price you want, because there is no other seller for with whom you are competing with, right? And if your customer wants to buy that product, and he also doesn't have any other option but to buy it from you, right? So a few which have large market share is Maruti, that is in passenger cars, almost around close. Used to be 50%, but now it has kind of dropped. In cigarettes, ITC, Pidilite in adhesives, right? So when you want to go for adhesives, there is no other brand that comes to your mind than Fevicol, Fevistick, Quick, and things like that, right? There is no other alternative, to be honest. Even if they are, hardly 10% or 20% of the people know what it is, right? Because of monopoly or large market share, these kind of companies will continue to grow in the coming 10, 15, 20 odd years. So even if you look at Maruti's stock price, so this particular company also in the last 10 years has given you almost 5, 6 times returns, right? So from 1200 to almost 10,000 it reached, and then so this is kind of a little cyclical in the sense, if the economic growth drops, car sales drop, then naturally the price will also drop, and again it has gone back up. But they will continue to be the leaders and continue to grow as India also grows bigger, right? So this is about monopoly, a large market share, and the last one, okay, last but one thing is entry to barrier. So, what are these entries to barrier? So, either regulations, like the government is very strict, they don't give out licenses, or it is capital intensive, right? So, we'll understand what exactly I mean by entry barrier to entry. So, casinos. So, as you know, in Goa there are casinos, right? And no one can actually go and start a casino tomorrow, right? Because the government does not give licenses so easily. So the only listed company that enjoys this is uh, Delta Corp, who runs two casinos in Goa, right, on the cruise. And coming to uh, other this thing, that is complex chemicals, right? Because they are harmful, and you have to be very strict with the safety norms and all of that. Only a few companies are allowed to do, so I mean, manufacture certain chemicals. For example, GNFC, which is in TDI, right? And then power sector, so capital intensive one. So tomorrow, let's say if a common man wants to start a power sector company, right? Let's say they are producing power, so it is not going to be easy for them, right? You need huge capital to start a company in power sector, or even in a telecom. If you want to be a telecom operator, you need huge capital, although Reliance was able to do it with Geo because they have huge cash flows from the oil business, petroleum business, right? So this is about the barrier to entry, and the last one is intellectual properties. Sorry, right? Copyrights, patents, trademarks. So pharma, these API companies, right? So you can't just copy someone else's this thing and start manufacturing your own drug. So if you are having some blockbuster API, then naturally you are the only one who is going to produce that particular drug, and no one else can do it because of the patents that you have. Or else, if you go to music companies like Saregama, Tips, they enjoy these copyrights, right? You can't copy their songs and then start using them, right? So these are also some kind of modes that will help these companies protect their margins and keep continue to grow in the years to come. Right? Now, what we'll do is there an easier way to screen companies with modes? So companies with modes have a high operating profit margin. So we'll try to figure out what exactly operating profit margin is, right? So if you go to any company, let's take let's go to any agrochemical company. Let's go to UPL, and you go to the quarterly results. So this is called the operating profit. You have sales, you have expenses. So what is remaining is called the operating profit. That you compare it with the sales, you will get the operating profit margin. So this is nothing but how much money is your operating profits if you subtract the expenses from the sales. So usually companies with very strong moat will have a higher operating profit margin because there is no one else to kind of compete with them. So they sell it at a premium rate, right? So now if using screener, one can figure out what are these companies. So using screener, what we can actually do is, so if I go to screens here, right, create new screen, show me companies who are having operating profit margin of greater than, let's say, 25%, right? So even if you do this, then you're going to have almost 631 companies. What I'll do is I'll again narrow it down to, let's say, we want very strong modes, maybe 35. So operating profit margin of 35, 419. In that, what we can do is we don't want companies which are micro caps, right? So I'll go to the next one and say market capitalization greater than 1,000 crores, right? So if you do that, probably you'll get all your small and mid cap companies, even large cap companies, which are having this mode. So now 166 companies. So if you go through it, right, like IEX, it is the only one, like Tips we were talking about, right? And then you have IRCTC. As you know, it's the only guy who's into the booking thing, right? CDSL, since it is the only listed one in the depository thing, so you will end up with companies which are having moats higher than 35%, and you can go through them and study them. And if you feel okay, these are great companies, then naturally, like Poshak is also another great company which is into manufacturing of chemicals. It is the only one doing it as of now. So this should help you identify which are the companies having some kind of a moat, and if you invest in them for the long term, definitely the company will grow, and your uh, total money that you make also will compound over the coming years. Hope this was helpful. Thank you.